Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I'm Zafar Bangash. Welcome to another episode of Ramadan Journey. And in the last 2 weeks or more, we have been discussing various concepts from the Noble Quran with Imam Muhammad Al-Asi, who has produced these wonderful translations of the meanings of the Noble Quran, the Arabic English version, the English only version, and a third version addressed to the youth, which is under production. And we want our viewers to help us to complete this project, as well as get copies of this English only version into every household in South Africa, in North America, in Europe, or in any other part of the world where people speak English, so that they would have access to the message of the Quran. And as you know, Imam Al-Asi is also working on the tafsir of the Quran, which is the first tafsir ever produced directly in the English language from Arabic to English. In 1500 years of Islamic history, nobody has done that, which is actually absolutely a unique, tafsir, and also unique in the sense that this is the first tafsir attempted in this manner. And of course, as we continue to discuss these various issues, in our last episode, we talked about the mental challenges that people face, and of course, that is widespread. There are challenges that the youth face, that the women, the elderly, the men, etc. And today we are going to talk about the empowerment of youth based on the teachings of the Quran. Imam Muhammad Al-Asi, once again, welcome to the program.
Alhamdulillah.
Now, as I mentioned in the last episode, we talked about this aspect of mental health and mental challenges, and you explained the relationship between body and soul and how we need to nourish our soul. We need to talk about how to empower Muslim youth. Before I do that, I want to preface that by saying that we have encountered in Canada certain really very disturbing challenges and disturbing trends, in the sense that Muslim youth, very intelligent, doing very well at school and university, some of them have committed suicide. And it's been, the parents are very good parents, they are, committed Muslims, and yet we have encountered this problem, both in terms of how we overcome this challenge and how we empower our youth to link them to the Noble Quran.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa man ma'ah. First, let me draw your attention to a fact that probably 99% of the Muslims don't know. You see, our number one enemy is ignorance. I try to say this frequently. Probably in these interviews, this is the first time I mentioned it, but our number one enemy is ignorance. When Allah's prophet began, Allah's final prophet began to explain the Qur'an and Islam to his society, he was 40 years old. And there were the first responders, let's call them, who accepted Islam. Among them was Abu Bakr, the companion of the Prophet, who was at the same age level of the Prophet. Everyone else was younger than the Prophet.
Perhaps apart from his wife Khadija radiallahu anha.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about
the men and youth. Yeah,
I'm basically talking about when I think about the youth, I'm thinking about revolution. So, anyways, yes. So everyone was young. And that has a significant implication. And that is, we'd be wasting time if we're learning from experience and learning from the Prophet. We'd be wasting time trying to convince those who are elderly, with all due respect to the seniors in our societies and
I'm
communities.
very disappointed. I'm already 74. So I'm a lost cause.
Well, there's not much fuel left in us. I'm 73. For the purposes and the objectives of mainstreaming Islam in the total sense of the word, it needs vitality, and that vitality is located in the younger generation. When I'm talking about younger generation, I'm specifically saying those who are in their teens, 20s, and 30s. These are the 20s are probably the years where we should be concentrating on, and the teens. But when you get over that, you know, the enthusiasm or the momentum begins to slow down. So if we want to learn from our history, we should begin to try to communicate to the youth this message of Islam. We, the communicators, I hope I'm not included, but Allahu A'lam, Allah knows best. We are failing to communicate the message of our Islam to these youth. You see, what's happening in the world today is there's a lot of concentration on the Holy Land and what's happening in the Holy Land. And look at the world populations. Who are the ones who are enthusiastic about coming to the help of the oppressed people? Who are they? Look at the demonstrations, the protests, the movements. They're made up of who? Elderly people? Yeah, there are some. They're made up of young people because this resonates with that inclination that is deep down inside that age bracket of people. It resonates with them. And I think we mentioned this previously, that the message of Islam is a message of justice. And students, high school students, university students, these are the spearheads for seeking justice and social justice. And this Qur'an is the book of social justice. But when we have our Friday khutbahs, our Friday sermons. When the person who ascends the minbar, the pulpit, when he speaks to the congregation, how many times have you have a lot of experience in your background. I'm sure a lot of these viewers and listeners, they have much experience in their background. How many times is it when they go to that weekly khutbah that they are listening to a lecture about social justice? So the youth, because they have this drive in them for social justice, that's a turn-off. Instead of the minbar becoming a motivator, it becomes a turn-off. And the person, the youth, or this young generation, of course, they want, to see fairness in society, to see justice, social justice, equality. They want that. So the communicators of this message of Islam are failing the youth. It's not that the youth are, something's wrong with them. It's something wrong with those who are supposed to be imbibing this message or communicating this message of Islam to them. There's a lesson in Surah Al-Kahf about youth who took issue with their society. It's the Ashab al-Kahf.
Kahf.
Yeah, إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى. These are young individuals who committed themselves to their sustainer, and Allah propelled their commitment. And they took issue with all of their society because their society was wayward. And they wanted, life to be according to the sustainer, not according to multinational corporations or according to those who amass military powers and all of this stuff. So this drive for justice is located in the younger generation. And if we fail to communicate this Qur'an, the meanings of this Qur'an to this younger generation, they'll look for channels of justice from somewhere else.
Right.
They will go into leftist parties, they will go into racist parties. I mean, there's a lot of deviation out there, and they want to find their way.
Yeah. I think you touched on a very important aspect, and I think we need to continue to discuss that in our next episode because we have run out of time for this one. You've been watching my conversation with Imam Muhammad Al-Asi in this Ramadan journey, and the Imam touched on some very important aspects which we are going to, inshallah, take up in our next episode. But in the meantime, we would like to thank you for watching Ramadan journey, and again we would like to remind our viewers about these translations of the meanings of the Quran that Imam Muhammad Al-Asi has produced, an Arabic English version, a completely English only version, and then the third one being produced for the Muslim youth. And we want our viewers please to help us to complete this project, take it to fruition, and get these English only version of the Quran into the hands of every household in South Africa, in North America, in Europe, anywhere else in the world where people speak English. So once again, thank you very much for watching. I'm Zafar Bangash. We look forward to seeing you in another episode of Ramadan Journey. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.